Have you ever wondered what happens to elderly people who live alone with no one by their side? Maybe you have walked past an older person sitting quietly at a park bench or seen someone dining alone at a small cafe. Maybe you felt a twinge of sadness, assuming they must be lonely or abandoned. But what if the truth is something entirely different? What if solitude at old age is not a symbol of sadness, but a badge of strength, a quiet revolution of spirit that most people overlook? Today we're going to explore a reality that is rarely spoken about. We are going to uncover the powerful, beautiful truth about elderly individuals who live alone. This is not a story of loss. It is a story of resilience, wisdom, and an extraordinary kind of freedom that only life experience can build. When older people live alone, the world often rushes to conclusions. We are quick to label, to pity, to misunderstand, but behind the closed doors of small apartments, behind the quiet steps taken through neighborhood streets, there is a strength that does not need to shout to be real. It simply is. This strength comes not from isolation, but from self-knowledge, not from being abandoned, but from choosing peace over noise, not from bitterness, but from a deep understanding that being alone can sometimes be the most honest way to live. So, if you have ever felt afraid of aging alone, if you have ever feared that solitude might mean failure, stay with me. What you're about to discover might change the way you see aging forever. It might even change the way you see yourself. Today we are going to honor the quiet heroes, the ones who wake up every day without waiting for someone else to give their life meaning, the ones who have built a sanctuary within themselves, the ones who live alone, not because they have been forgotten, but because they have remembered who they are, and in that remembering they have found something many people never do, no matter how full their houses or their calendars. They have found themselves. Let us begin. When people think of elderly individuals living alone, the first word that often comes to mind is loneliness. It is almost automatic, like a reflex. We have been taught to believe that living alone must mean being lonely, forgotten, or left behind. But this belief, while widespread, is deeply mistaken. Living alone does not automatically mean living in sadness. In fact, for many older adults, solitude is not a prison. It is a choice. It is a way of life that brings peace, dignity, and a deep sense of personal fulfillment. Imagine an elderly man waking up in the morning to the gentle light coming through his window. He prepares his own breakfast, reads the newspapers slowly, takes a stroll through the nearby park, and returns home to water his garden. His days are quiet, but they are full of small moments that belong entirely to him, full of routines that bring comfort and stability. Or picture an older woman who spends her evenings painting, listening to her favorite music, and tending to her plants. Her phone may not ring every hour, and her doorbell may stay silent for days, but her heart is full because she has created a life that feels meaningful to her. Solitude is not the same as isolation. Solitude is a conscious embrace of being with oneself. Isolation is a painful disconnection from others that one does not choose. Understanding this difference is crucial when we talk about elderly people living alone. Many seniors who live alone have cultivated an inner world that is rich and satisfying. They have learned how to find joy in simple things. They have built lives that do not depend on constant external stimulation. Instead of seeing themselves as missing something, they recognize that they have gained something precious: freedom. Of course, there are challenges. Of course, there are moments of longing. No life is without its difficult days. But the overarching story is not one of tragedy. It is one of strength. It is a story of individuals who have made peace with themselves in a way that many people surrounded by others have never managed to do. In a society that often values constant connection and noise, choosing to live quietly, independently, and at one's own pace is an act of courage. It is a rejection of the idea that validation must come from outside. It is a powerful statement that says, "I am enough." Older adults living alone are often far more resilient than they are given credit for. They know how to handle unexpected problems. They know how to care for themselves. They know how to enjoy their own company without fear. When you see an elderly person walking alone, sitting at a park, or eating quietly at a restaurant, do not rush to pity them. Instead, recognize the immense strength it takes to live life on your own terms, especially in a world that does not always understand. They are not just surviving. They are thriving in a way that demands respect, not sorrow. They have built a sanctuary within themselves, a place that cannot be shaken by absence or silence. Breaking the myth of loneliness means seeing the truth with new eyes. It means honoring the beauty of self-sufficiency and the quiet joy of a life well lived, even if it is lived alone. In the next part, we will uncover the 8 hidden powers that elderly people living alone often possess, powers that make them some of the strongest individuals among us. One of the most remarkable traits seen in elderly individuals who live alone is emotional resilience. Life has taught them to survive storms, both external and internal. They have faced the loss of loved ones, the changing tides of health, and the inevitable loneliness that sometimes creeps in. But instead of breaking, they have adapted. Emotional resilience does not mean that pain disappears. It means learning how to carry the pain without letting it define your existence. It is the quiet ability to wake up in the morning after a night of sadness and still find beauty in the sunrise. It is the strength to sit with uncomfortable emotions without running away or numbing them with distractions. Older people who live alone have often mastered this art. They understand that sadness is not a permanent condition. It is a visitor that comes and goes. They know that happiness is not something to be chased, but something that arises naturally when you are at peace with yourself. Consider an elderly woman who lost her spouse after 50 years of marriage. For a time, the grief was overwhelming, but slowly she built a new rhythm. She found comfort in her morning walks, in writing letters to her grandchildren, in reading novels that made her heart feel alive again. Her sadness did not vanish, but it stopped ruling her life. That is emotional resilience. In a society that often fears emotional pain, these individuals have learned that feelings, even painful ones, are part of a rich human experience. They no longer fear their own sadness. They no longer feel the need to apologize for moments of vulnerability. Instead, they wear their emotional history like a badge of honor. Every scar tells a story of survival. Every tear shed alone becomes a testimony to their strength. Emotional resilience is not visible at a glance. It does not scream for attention. It lives quietly, like an underground river, strong and unstoppable. Those who live alone in old age often carry within them an emotional foundation so deep that few storms can truly shake it. And that resilience is one of their greatest, most beautiful powers. Another profound gift that elderly people who live alone often develop is deep self-awareness. When you spend long periods with your own thoughts, without the constant noise of others' opinions and expectations, you begin to see yourself clearly. Living alone provides the rare opportunity to strip away distractions. Without needing to adjust to someone else's moods or compromise for daily companionship, an older person starts to truly understand who they are at their core. They learn their real preferences, their genuine dreams, and their honest fears. Deep self-awareness is not about overthinking or endless self-criticism. It is about acceptance. It is about knowing your strengths and weaknesses without judgment. It is about being able to sit quietly with your own mind and feel at home. Imagine an elderly man who once spent his days in a busy house, always surrounded by family, noise, and responsibilities. Now, alone in his small home, he finds new clarity. He discovers that he loves painting. He realizes that he is happiest when tending to his small garden, not rushing from one task to another. He learns that he no longer needs to pretend to enjoy activities that never suited him. This kind of self-awareness brings a peace that is difficult to describe but deeply felt. It is a steady calmness, a sense of being grounded no matter what is happening outside. It also leads to better decisions, healthier boundaries, and relationships built on authenticity rather than obligation. Elderly individuals who live alone are often not searching for others to complete them. They have found completion within themselves. They do not crave constant validation because they know their own worth. This deep self-awareness becomes a quiet but powerful shield. It protects them from being easily manipulated or swayed by the expectations of others. It allows them to live life on their own terms, honoring their true selves with every decision they make. When you meet an elderly person who lives alone and carries themselves with quiet confidence, you are witnessing the beauty of deep self-awareness. It is not arrogance. It is not stubbornness. It is the hard-earned result of years spent listening, understanding, and ultimately embracing who they really are. Independence is often spoken about as a virtue of youth, but it reaches its most powerful form in old age, especially among those who live alone. Elderly people who maintain their independence are not just managing daily life. They are living proof that self-reliance does not have an expiration date. Unmatched independence is about more than just being able to cook a meal or pay bills on time. It is about maintaining control over your own life, your own choices, and your own happiness. It's about standing firmly on your own 2 feet, even when the world expects you to lean on others. Picture an older woman who does her own grocery shopping, takes public transportation to visit the library, and fills her home with hobbies that stimulate her mind. She does not need constant assistance, and she does not define herself by her limitations. Instead, she adapts, she finds ways to keep moving forward, and she takes pride in every small act of self-sufficiency. Independence for the elderly is not always glamorous. There are challenges, days when tasks take longer or feel heavier, but every success, no matter how small, strengthens their sense of dignity. It reminds them that their life is still theirs to shape. This kind of independence also nurtures mental and emotional health. When older people can manage their daily routines without constant intervention, it reinforces their confidence. It tells them they are capable, valuable, and still in control of their narrative. The truth is, society often underestimates what older adults are capable of. It rushes to offer help when none is needed. It assumes fragility where there is still great strength. Those who live alone push back against these assumptions every day simply by living on their own terms. They choose what they eat, when they sleep, how they spend their afternoons. They are the authors of their own days. That unmatched independence is not just a survival skill, it is a quiet celebration of life itself. When you see an elderly person who lives alone handling their errands, tending their garden, or simply walking down the street with quiet purpose, know that you are witnessing something extraordinary. You are seeing the powerful beauty of a life still lived with full ownership. Inner peace is one of the most profound treasures that elderly people who live alone often find. In a world filled with noise, distractions, and constant demands for attention, choosing to live quietly with oneself is not an act of despair, it is an act of deep wisdom. Inner peace does not come from having a perfect life. It comes from making peace with life as it is. Older individuals who live alone have often experienced great losses, faced significant changes, and endured unexpected turns in their journey. Yet many of them radiate a calm that is unmistakable. This calmness is not because their lives are free of problems, it is because they have learned not to be ruled by those problems. They have accepted that some things cannot be changed, and in doing so they have freed themselves from unnecessary suffering. Imagine an elderly man sitting on his porch in the evening watching the sunset without checking his phone, without rushing to be somewhere else. In that stillness, there is no fear of missing out. There's only gratitude for the beauty of that moment. Or think of an older woman who spends her mornings tending to her flowers. Each day she waters them patiently, understanding that growth takes time and care. She does not demand instant results, she trusts the quiet process, just as she trusts the unfolding of her own life. Inner peace allows elderly people living alone to handle loneliness when it appears without panic. It allows them to find joy in a simple meal, a good book, or a familiar song. It teaches them that happiness is not something others can give or take away. It is something they cultivate within themselves. This kind of peace is rare in a world that pushes for constant action and endless connection. It is a peace that speaks of maturity, acceptance, and wisdom that can only be earned through time and experience. When you meet an elderly person who carries themselves with quiet joy, who smiles softly without needing a reason, you are seeing the beauty of inner peace. It is one of the greatest gifts of living alone and embracing solitude not as a punishment but as a sanctuary. Another remarkable strength found in elderly people who live alone is their ability to form selective, meaningful connections. When you have spent years learning the value of your own company, you naturally become more careful about the company you keep. Selective connection is not about isolating oneself. It is about choosing quality over quantity. It is about valuing relationships that bring true joy, understanding, and respect, rather than surrounding oneself with people just to fill space. Older individuals who live alone understand that their time and energy are precious. They no longer feel the need to maintain connections that drain them or make them feel invisible. Instead, they focus on nurturing relationships that are genuine, supportive, and life-affirming. Imagine an elderly woman who once attended every social event trying to keep up appearances. Now she meets just a few close friends for afternoon tea. Their conversations are deep, honest, and comforting. There is no pretense, no competition, just real companionship. Or consider an older man who chooses to spend Sunday mornings volunteering at a local shelter. He is not there to be seen or praised. He is there because he genuinely connects with the simple, honest kindness shared between people who understand each other's struggles. Selective connection also means having the courage to walk away from relationships that no longer serve their well-being. It means letting go of old friendships that have become toxic, and refusing to engage in family dynamics that bring more harm than healing. This level of discernment is a form of wisdom that many people never achieve, even at a younger age. It comes from truly understanding that not all connections are nourishing and that solitude is far better than being surrounded by people who make you feel alone. Selective connection allows elderly individuals living alone to protect their peace. It lets them fill their lives with relationships that are rooted in authenticity, respect, and mutual care. It is not about having fewer people in their lives, it is about having the right people. When you see an older person smiling warmly in a small circle of trusted friends, or choosing to spend time with a beloved pet rather than at a noisy party, you are witnessing the quiet, deliberate power of selective connection. A silence can be intimidating to those who have never embraced it. But for elderly people who live alone, silence often becomes a trusted companion. It is not an enemy to be avoided. It is a teacher offering lessons that can only be understood when the noise of the outside world fades away. The wisdom of silence is not about the absence of sound. It is about the presence of understanding. In the stillness of their homes, in the quiet moments of reflection, older individuals often find answers that frantic activity could never provide. Think of an elderly man sitting in his living room, a book resting on his lap, but his eyes are closed. He is not asleep. He is remembering, feeling, understanding things he never had time to process during the busy years of his youth. The silence around him is not empty. It is full of memories, lessons, and realizations. Or imagine an older woman sitting by her window watching the rainfall. She does not rush to check her messages, to answer calls, to make small talk. She simply watches, allowing herself to be present with the moment. In that simple act, there is a deep, quiet joy that words cannot capture. In a world that fears silence and tries to fill every moment with noise, elderly people who live alone have discovered that silence can be a sanctuary. It is in the silence that they reconnect with themselves. It is in the silence that they heal old wounds, find clarity, and deepen their sense of gratitude for the life they have lived. The wisdom of silence teaches patience. It teaches acceptance. It teaches the importance of simply being without needing to perform, impress, or prove anything. This silent strength often goes unnoticed by the busy world around them, yet it is one of the deepest sources of their resilience and their calm. When you see an elderly person sitting quietly, not seeking to entertain or be entertained, you are witnessing a profound kind of wisdom. It is a wisdom born from decades of life experience, from knowing that sometimes the most important conversations happen not in words, but in the silent spaces between them. Among the many strengths found in elderly individuals who live alone, unbreakable dignity stands as one of the most powerful. It is the quiet, unwavering sense of self-respect that remains intact, even when life strips away many external comforts and familiar faces. Dignity is not about pride or stubbornness. It is about carrying oneself with honor, even when no one else is watching. It is about refusing to see oneself as less worthy just because the world moves faster or forgets to notice. Older people who live alone often demonstrate this dignity in the smallest yet most meaningful ways. They dress neatly even if no one is coming over. They maintain their homes with care even if no guests are expected. They continue their routines not out of obligation, but because they respect themselves and the life they have built. Imagine an elderly woman who wakes up every morning and makes her bed with care. She prepares her meals thoughtfully, lights a candle at dinner, even if she's dining alone. These small acts are not for show. They are daily affirmations that her life is valuable, regardless of who witnesses it. Or picture an older man who, despite his age, still takes pride in writing thoughtful letters to distant family members, tending his small garden, or walking to the local market with a steady stride. Each step is a quiet declaration that he is still here, still living with purpose and pride. Unbreakable dignity also shows in the way elderly individuals navigate hardships. They face health challenges, losses, and societal invisibility without collapsing into bitterness. They may grieve, they may hurt, but they do not allow those hardships to define their worth. In a world that often measures people by their productivity, speed, or youth, elderly people who live alone reclaim their value simply by being. They remind us that human dignity does not diminish with age. It grows richer, deeper, and more inspiring. When you see an elderly person living alone with quiet pride, treating their days with ceremony and care, you are witnessing a form of strength that no circumstance can break. It is the kind of dignity that shines from within and elevates everything it touches. Perhaps the most inspiring power that elderly people who live alone possess is hope beyond age. Even after decades of life's trials, even after facing loss, change, and solitude, many older individuals continue to believe in new beginnings, small joys, and the possibility of growth. Hope is not reserved for the young. In fact, the hope carried by elderly individuals is often deeper and more resilient. It is not based on naive dreams or unrealistic expectations. It is a steady, grounded belief that life still holds moments of beauty, no matter how many years have passed. Picture an elderly woman who signs up for a painting class at 75, excited to learn a new skill. Imagine an older man who adopts a senior dog from a shelter, giving both himself and the animal a second chance at companionship. These acts are simple but profound expressions of hope. Hope beyond age is the understanding that every morning brings a new opportunity to experience something meaningful, whether it is the smell of fresh coffee, the sound of birds outside the window, or the kindness exchanged with a neighbor. It is the decision to plant flowers knowing you may or may not see them bloom. It is the courage to reach out to new friends, to learn something new, or to forgive an old hurt. Older individuals living alone often embody this hope quietly but powerfully. They do not shout their optimism from rooftops. They live it in the small, consistent ways that reveal a profound trust in life itself. Their hope is not about denying hardship or pretending that everything is easy. It is about choosing to see beyond difficulties, to believe that goodness still exists and that personal growth is always possible. When you meet an elderly person who still smiles easily, who still makes plans for next week, who still dreams of visiting new places or starting new hobbies, you are seeing the beauty of hope that transcends age. Hope beyond age is a gift not only to the one who holds it, but to everyone who witnesses it. It reminds us that as long as there is breath, there is possibility, and that truth shines brighter than any number written on a birth certificate. It is easy to hear about emotional resilience, self-awareness, independence, and hope and wonder. But what if I am not there yet? If you are an older person living alone, and you sometimes struggle with sadness, uncertainty, or fear, know this: you are not failing. Growth is not a race, and strength does not arrive all at once. The journey to inner peace and quiet strength is not a straight line. Some days are filled with confidence and joy. Other days are clouded with loneliness or doubt. This is normal. It does not mean you are weak. It means you are human. There is no shame in having hard days. There is no shame in missing the companionship you once had, or in wishing for a hand to hold now and then. Even the strongest elderly individuals living alone have moments when the silence feels heavy instead of comforting. What matters most is not feeling strong all the time. What matters is choosing, again and again, to keep going. It is choosing to believe that your life still holds meaning. It is reminding yourself that you are not defined by who is or is not around you, but by the light you continue to carry inside. Even small steps matter. Maybe today you smiled at a neighbor. Maybe you cooked yourself a nourishing meal. Maybe you took a short walk, even if it felt difficult. Each of these small actions is a victory. Each one is a sign of life, hope, and quiet strength. If you are not yet at the point where solitude feels like sanctuary, be gentle with yourself. Healing and growth take time. The important thing is that you have already begun by noticing, by caring, by wanting to find your strength. The truth is, nobody is perfectly resilient, peaceful, or wise every single day. Even those who seem strong have built their strength one difficult moment at a time. So give yourself permission to grow slowly. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small. Trust that every step you take toward peace and self-respect is a step that matters deeply. You are on your way, and that journey is just as beautiful as the destination. Living alone in old age can be a powerful and fulfilling experience, especially when approached with intention and care. Here are practical ways that elderly individuals can embrace solitude and truly thrive. First, build healthy daily routines. Structure brings comfort and purpose. Start the day with small rituals that nourish both body and spirit, like stretching gently, preparing a favorite breakfast, or sitting by the window to welcome the morning sun. Routines do not have to be complicated. Simple, meaningful habits create stability and peace. Second, nurture a passion or hobby. Whether it is painting, knitting, gardening, writing, or learning a new language, engaging in activities you love keeps your mind active and your heart joyful. Passion gives energy to days that might otherwise feel empty. It also reminds you that life is still rich with possibilities, no matter your age. Third, cultivate selective social connections. Solitude does not mean isolation. Stay in touch with family, friends, or community groups that uplift you. Technology can be a helpful tool if physical visits are difficult. Even short conversations filled with genuine warmth can brighten your spirit. Fourth, create a living space that feels like a sanctuary. Surround yourself with things that bring comfort and happiness. Photographs, plants, soft lighting, and cozy corners all help transform a house into a home where you feel safe, valued, and at peace. Fifth, move your body regularly. Gentle exercise like walking, yoga, or stretching helps maintain strength and flexibility. Movement also boosts mood and sharpens mental clarity. Even short sessions of activity each day contribute to overall well-being. Sixth, nourish your mind and soul. Read books that inspire you. Listen to music that lifts your heart. Watch films that make you laugh or think deeply. Feed your inner world with positivity and beauty. Seventh, practice gratitude. At the end of each day, take a few moments to reflect on something good, no matter how small. Gratitude shifts focus from what is missing to what is present. It creates a foundation of quiet happiness that grows stronger with time. Embracing solitude is not about closing the door on the world. It is about opening a new door within yourself, finding a deeper connection to your own life, and realizing that even alone, you are never truly lonely when you are at home within your own heart. Living alone in old age is not a tragedy. It is a testament to resilience, wisdom, and the quiet beauty of a life lived on your own terms. The world may not always see the strength it takes to wake up each morning and choose to create a meaningful day, even in the absence of applause or companionship. But that strength is real. It shines in every small act of self-care, every patient decision to keep moving forward, every gentle moment of peace found within solitude. If you are an elderly person living alone, know this. Your life is rich with meaning. Your journey, with all its twists and turns, has shaped you into someone capable of a deep, authentic relationship with yourself. That is something rare and powerful. You are not forgotten. You are not diminished. You are a living example of what it means to stand strong and whole in a world that often misunderstands quiet strength. Celebrate the life you have built. Honor the days you have lived. Embrace the possibilities that still lie ahead, and if you know someone who is walking this path, offer them your respect, your admiration, and your understanding. Because living alone does not mean living less. It often means living more truly, more freely, and more fully than ever before. You are enough. Your life is enough. And every moment you choose to honor yourself is a moment that lights the world in ways you may never fully realize.